The Banker, also on Apple TV. Now, this had a rough start because people some stepdaughters came out the woodwork and said that the son, who was executive producing on the piece and who had written the story, or had come up with the story to get it written about his father. They said something about he had molested them ever since they were 5 or 6, and he was 14 or 15, and he had molested them all the way up through, until they got in, wherever it stopped at, right? So it was supposed to be the premiere film to launch Apple TV, but it was held up for that reason. But finally, it released in March.
And we briefly talked about it.
But
now we're gonna review.
We're gonna review it. We talked about it as far as when we were talking about, the what is the term that I used and what it is? It is the condition, the way life is, the social structure,
right? Oh yeah.
The social order, how society was in the 1950s. This film
was it the Parliament song?
So too high, you can't get over it. Too low, you can't get under it. Too wide, you can't get around it. So wide and so low, you can't get under it. Right? And so this is what this film represents. It tells you that story, and it's all about, pre-civil rights. This is the 1950s, right? And so this is like battling for your right early because your intellect is there, that you will be able to push forward, and you use what's necessary in this time in the society that you live in to get over the hump. You got to get over the hump. You got to get over the hump, right? So anyway, it's about a man, a banker. Well, not a banker. He's a man. He's a black man, and he is married, and he's looking to get into the real estate business in Los Angeles. He comes originally from Texas, but he has a big dream after sitting outside shining shoes at a bank as a young person, and his mind, he has a photographic memory, and he can hear and memorize equations, right? So he's able to listen and overhear white bankers talking, and he writes down these equations, and his father tells him there's no way in this world that they will ever allow a black man to ever get ahead like that. So years pass, and it cuts to him in LA, and he wants to get into the real estate business because he has all these equations and he knows how this works. Samuel L. Jackson comes in, and they strike a partnership, and then they begin to buy property that is in whites only areas, and they begin to flip the properties to make it so that it's integrated, so that the areas become integrated. If the whites move out, these black people will be in these nice apartment buildings, right? So they then go and hatch a plan to purchase a bank. They become bankers. So they train up an uneducated Caucasian male. Knew nothing. Like if you look at it, like the wife was more cultured. Both men, Samuel L. Jackson, the part that Samuel L. Jackson played,
he was a businessman. He had his own club.
Totally cultured. Kevin Mackey? His character, totally cultured. They knew about everything, about how to place the dishes during the meal, which fork to use, which glass to use, how to speak a certain diction to get across to make sure that this country guy would then go across and be able to sit in front of a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
They taught him how to play golf.
They taught him how to play golf, right? And be able to impress a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male to believe that he was a person to be a bank owner.
Right.
They purchased a bank. Problem is, he goes back home and he sees a young kid out there shining shoes outside of the bank that you'll see in the film.
Yeah, we don't
give it away. But he's out there and he says, "How much for a shoe shine?" And he says, we don't shine nothing but white men's shoes around here. And something triggers in him and he wants to purchase the bank. And then the story really kicks off. And you really have to see it because it definitely, truly shows you the social order that was fought against and has to continue to be fought against. And some of the hurdles are being put back in place.
Right.
And we're being distracted and we're still on the hamster wheel for other things that will be eradicated once we stay focused on making sure the hurdles are moved out the way and making sure that we get the 17 plus trillion reparations that's owed to American blacks, right?
I was just watching the news the other day, and the story had to do with Mnuchin and the federal
stimulus.
Well, not
the PP.
The area, Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve Bank, okay.
And the reporter was speaking to this other gentleman, and he said, and they were showing the machines, and they were showing them cutting money, like for the previous stimulus, and money for all the other programs and stuff for small businesses, and the other guy was saying, we basically, the government, we can cut as much money and get as much money as we need and from the Federal Reserve. So the first thing I'm thinking, it's time to, because you can do it anytime and it's no big deal and you've done it multiple times. Where's the reparations for the American descendants of slaves? So, and when he said that, we can, from Federal Reserve, we can just cut up any amount of money and send it out and just whatever we need, we can wrangle up and, because we make the dollars and, because they showed the machine and making the money. So, but so the cast of The Banker, Anthony Mackie, Samuel Jackson, Nicholas Hoult, Nia Long.
Nia Long plays that part.
She plays it. Nia Long is a great actress.
Great actress.
Jesse Usher, Carl Meany, Gregory Allen Williams. They all did a great job. This movie teaches you. See, we here at the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society, we want you to look at films for the movies, music, culture, politics, and society that are in these films. Films can tell you the story. If you don't want to read a book, if you don't want to go to a lecture, the films tell you what was happening, what the duality and the dichotomy is in this society, right? Samuel Jackson is executive producer of the film, and Anthony Mackie is one of the producers.
That's right. So, people, what would you rate the film? Because the clothing, I give it a 10.
Yeah.
The putting you back into that period with the cars, again, the clothing, making LA as well as that particular part of Texas fall back into that era. That's a 10.
I would give it a 10 also. For everything you said, we also definitely have to throw in architecture. We talked about that. Because they shot so many great scenes And the work on the buildings was just like beautiful back from that period, and how they searched it out, and even if they had to like create like certain, I mean, they did a great job. The architecture is just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And the story arc, making the cities that they were in part a living, breathing character in it. The apartment buildings in particular,
beautiful.
The way they were
California.
Before and how they were transformed by the hands of black men.
Yeah, they did it
for black people.
Yes,
that's a 10.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
the missteps. Or I knew this was going to be a misstep.
Oh
right?
my gosh! When he started talking about, he was doing so. I don't want to give it away. Doing so great in California.
When he included the Caucasian man into the equation, I knew. But anyway,
when he incorporated the state of Texas.
Yeah, right. But he incorporated the Caucasian person. That's a 10, right? That's showing you the folly of it. The 10, right? There is a trope in it that, I didn't like. The white man as savior. You'll see it in the film. It comes closer to the end of the film before the credits roll, and it's the white man as savior. It's just really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. It's like really hard to believe. But anyway, so for all that and the character arc of each character arcing, I get at a 10.
I would.
So for me, the whole movie is a 10. It's well worth seeing. The banker.